This is the instructional for SignalLightX, our new chop filter indicator. So just like a lot of our products, this is as simple as you want it to be, but it could also get as complex as you want it to be. It's really up to the user and what you want to do with it. So the idea of this indicator is to try and keep you out of choppy markets and recognize when we're starting to get into chop, and it'll also recognize when we're potentially starting to get out of chop. Just the nature with choppy markets, you can't actually have an indicator that says chop is starting now and chop is ending now, because you have to be in chop for you to recognize that you're in it, and you have to be out of it to recognize you're out of it. So there's no perfect indicator for this. It's actually a very difficult thing to code, and that's why if you look around, there's not a lot of indicators that show you that that will actually recognize chop like this does. So, but it's always going to come down to settings. You have to refine settings. So out of the box, this comes with the settings I set it to. This is how I tuned it. It's for just NQ on the 1 minute Heikin Ashi. And that's the default settings that I have on there, so it's a good place to start. And then from there you can adjust if you want to do 2 minute Heikin Ashi or regular candles or Renko or anything like that. Then you'll have to make some adjustments there. But very simply, it says go when we're out of chop and stop when you're potentially getting into some choppy markets. So if we just scroll through here, what time, see whatever day this was. Let's go to the start of the day or a little bit before the market, whatever. There's 8 in the morning, so it says stop. And you can see it kind of, it went up a little bit, down a little bit, up a little bit, down a little bit, and it kind of just chopped around. But then at 9 o'clock, we had this big spike, and then it says go. So this is saying, hey, potentially we're out of chop. And you can see very clearly that this is chop, and this is not chop. Now, it chopped a little bit after it, but not enough to put it back into chop mode. And it did push down, and it did push up. So now we've got, if you can see the difference here, so now we're in the go mode. You can see, so here's the stop mode. You can see what the range is, tidy, choppy. And then the go mode, way bigger range. Even here, look at it. If you had some good levels here, lots of range compared to the chop. Now this is market open as well, so take that into account. So then we go, it's still in the go mode. Pretty good morning. Now it says stop here. So we had a big push up, it went sideways a little bit, and then it says stop. And sure enough, we did actually chop for a little bit. It was noon, but it caught the chop here, and it really didn't do a whole lot. A little bit. Now it started to push up out of it, so now we're back into the go mode, and we had one big push down, and now it's pretty much getting into the afternoon session. So anyways, that's how it works. Just stop and go, stop and go. Okay, so up top here we have a little bit of a display, and this will display a few things, a few settings that you have. So you can change the settings based on how it calculates. So this combines like ATR, average true range, ADX, CCI, Bollinger Bands, RSI. It combines all of these into one indicator, and it calculates that all together, and that's what creates the signal. So for the users that want to get a little bit more in depth, which you'll have to a little bit to adjust for each instrument in each time frame, this is the second part of it, and you can just hide it if you don't want to see it. It's gone. You don't need it there, but this is what's used to tune it. So you can actually see what's going on behind the doors of this indicator. So, and you can see, when it turns red, it says stop. When it turns green, it says go. How it's coded is when it goes above the upper threshold, it turns green. And it stays green until it breaks the lower threshold. And then it stays red until it breaks the upper threshold. And then it stays green until it breaks the lower threshold. So that's how it's determined, the colors. So I'll show you in a minute what types of settings we have, because there's a lot. You can adjust the internal like indicators, you can adjust the thresholds So say you didn't want it to turn green until 50 or 60, and you didn't want it to turn red until 15 or 30, whatever you want, you can adjust the zone, right? But then you can also adjust this line in itself. So there's a huge amount of adjustment. I think a lot of users won't get into all the adjustments. So let's get into some of the settings here. So I'll go into settings, and right here, signal light, and you'll kind of see right off the bat that there's quite a bit of settings, right? Weights, parameters, metrics. A lot of this you don't need. Here's the background for the oscillator. If you want that on or off, up to you. But what I've done is instead of using all of these, because they can be, there's a lot to them, I created 3 sensitivity controls. So what this does is it encompasses all of these, and it just gives you one single sensitivity control. So there's dynamic thresholds, power scaling, and output smoothing. So output smoothing is just basically like a moving average. Power scaling is just it's like an exponential acceleration of the indicators that are in there. It's hard to explain. And then dynamic thresholds, it pushes the thresholds away on some of these indicators. If you were to look at them individually, it would make more sense. But really, the best thing you could do if you don't want to get into each and every little setting down here is you just kind of play with them. The first 2, all 3 of them are good. So here's what I'll do. And they have a range from 0 to 100. So if I turn off the smoothing, just have a look at the line down below, and you'll see that it's not as smooth with that off. See, it's more spiky, more jaggedy, right? So if I turn the smoothing on, it just smooths it out a little more. And then if I go to 100, that'll be the max smoothing for these settings. And if I do 0, it'll be the minimum smoothing. So that's how that works. I like 50 for this this time frame and this instrument. Dynamic thresholds, the same thing. If you want it to be more sensitive, you do 100, and you'll see you're going to get a lot more states changing, right? Go, stop, go, stop, go, stop, because it's more reactive. And then if I do the same thing, this is the same idea, just does it in a different way, but if I turn that up, it's going to have another high sensitivity there, and it'll change the way it behaves as well. So right now it's like, way up above 90. It never goes down. So that wouldn't be a setting that I would use. And then you would just have to adjust from there, right? Turn this one off, see what happens. Turn this down to 20. It'll become less sensitive. And you'll see it's all the way down at the bottom. So, and if I just put that, that's how it was. And this is how you tune it. You just play with it. You say, okay, well, what does 20 look like? You close this window and you scroll around and you see, okay, I'm not getting too many signals, but I'm not getting too little either. And then you might try, okay, there's 20. Let's see what 40 looks like. Okay, let's see what 60 looks like. And you just play around with there until you find good settings for your instrument, your time frame, and your candle type and all of that. So, and then metrics. Okay, so this is what it includes: ATR, ADX, CCI, Bollinger Bands, and RSI. So each of these will change. So this will totally exclude ADX in the calculation. And you'll see it does change it. It's take average true range off. I wouldn't take that one off. That's probably the most important. But, this is what helps it adapt as the market changes in live. As the range changes, like from pre-market or overnight to market open, ATR, average true range, helps it kind of adjust to that. So, yeah, you can turn all these on and off. You have full adjustability. There's nothing that you can't adjust in this. Same thing with the weights. Hey, if I want ATR to be weighted at 2, changes it. Same thing with, CCI. It's more of a momentum thing. Let's try that at 3. So, anyways, you kind of get the point there. This is the weights. So it's going to tell you up top ATR is weighted at 1, 3, CCI. You can see all that. And this box changes color depending on the state. So if you're in the stop, this box will turn red. If you're in the go, it'll turn green. So it changes changes colors based on the state. Same thing with the period. So ATR, it's a 14 candle ATR period. So it looks back 14 candles and it gets the average true range. This is the smoothing. So how much does it smooth? So 50 moving average is what it smooths it by. ADX period. So if you brought all these indicators up individually, you'd understand, what these settings are. Is there a chance you don't have to change them at all? Yeah. I mean, you could just use the smoothing up top, or you could just use individual indicators, or you could just change the weights. That's probably where I would go. And then if you really want to get into it, you can get into moving these periods and parameters. This box in the corner, you don't need it up there. You can just turn it off if you don't like the box. This is the setting I was saying, it matches the signal line color. Match info box to signal line color. So it's red, but if I were to turn it off, it would just should just be this color here. So yeah, I'll just update it so that setting works properly, but that's all that's for. Background, that's for the oscillator at the bottom. And that's it. I mean, sorry, I forgot one of the most important ones is the thresholds. Okay, so 45 and 20 is what I like for this. You might do 60 for the upper threshold. And you can see how it moves that threshold up to 60. So this is another probably important setting. This is probably like the second most important. Once you do these, smoothing or whatever you want to do for sensitivity, then you can play with the thresholds and see, okay, this is the on trigger, this is the off trigger. And you can play with those thresholds a little bit. So that's kind of going to be the second most important. Go, see it says go right there, and stop. So now, this is all fine and dandy, it looks cool, works, but how do we automate it? Okay, let me show you how to automate it. So you would use it in Generator. Well, I mean, you could use it just as a trading. You could use it just in AutoBot. If you just wanted to trade, the go and the stop, you could, kind of, but the problem is, see here, the go, you couldn't actually. Here's why. It says go, but it doesn't say long or short. It has no idea about long or short. It just knows about the trend. You know what I mean? So go, it happens at the top, but that it's not saying to go long. It's just saying we're not in chop. It could be short or long. So it's independent of direction. It's just dependent on candle behavior. So you wouldn't want to use it just in AutoBot because you wouldn't know whether go was a long signal or a short signal. Both of these instances, it would be a short signal. I'm sure I can find an instance where it would be a long signal. But anyways, so this is how you'd set it up. So if we just got a simple what do we got here? I thought I had a different one. What's basic? Okay, that'll do. So we're just going to set it up. Basic TS buy signal, TS sell signal. That's just my Riptide signals. So then what I would do is I would further filter it. I'd say, okay, well, I only want to take a buy signal if the state is in the go state. If, SignalLightX is in the go state. So what I would do to use this, I'd first set up a state machine for it. So there's going to be two states, and we'll call it just whatever. SignalLight. So state 1 is going to be whatever the name of this tag is. SignalLight 2. Signal light 2. And then state 2 is signal light 0. It went red because I didn't spell it right. Okay, perfect. So those are the two states. So this is the go state. This is the stop state. So now that I have the state machine set up, I can reference it in the signals. So for my master signal, yeah, that's my main signal. That's where I want to get in, but only if this is in the go state. So I would add, I would say and, because it's not, I'm not doing one or the other. I need both of these conditions to be true at the same time. So it's an and operator. State, signal light. That's the name of the state group. And then 1, because that's the go. So there you go. You can see it. Current state is signal light 2, not 1. 2 is the go state. Yeah, and then I would do it for the second one. So this is my short signal, TSL signal, and state, signal light 2. Perfect. Apply settings. There you go. Now you would get a master signal when you get the TSL signal and the state is in state 1, which is the go state. So that's how you would set it up in Generator, and then of course you would go over to AutoXbot, and you know, your long signal would be master signal 1 and your short signal would be master signal 2. This name right here. Can't highlight it, but that's your short signal and that's your long signal. So anyways, that's the signal light indicator, how it works, how to adjust it, how to set it up for automation. If there's any questions or suggestions, you know where to find me on the Discord. So thanks for watching, and yeah, good luck with this.